Chapter 1 Rain poured down the cracked hospital window, a steady rhythm that matched the beat of her heart, uneven, desperate, afraid. Elena Wanjiru clutched the paper in her trembling hands. Another bill. Another cruel reminder that hope came with a price tag she couldn't afford. Her eyes drifted toward the bed beside her. Her brother, Sam, just 12, lay unconscious, his face too pale, his body too small beneath the white sheets. The doctors had made it clear. If he didn't get the surgery within the next 10 days, he wouldn't make it. Elena had tried everything. She'd sold her bakery equipment, pawned her laptop, begged distant relatives who no longer picked her calls. She even went to the man who fired her last week, only to be thrown out like trash. She sank into the hard plastic chair, her soaked hoodie clinging to her skin. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it. But then it buzzed again. And again. Until she finally pulled it out. Unknown number, she stared, then answered. "Elena Wanjiru?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, who is this?" "You're being considered for a private agreement, one that could help you and your brother." Her throat tightened. "What kind of agreement?" "There's a man, he's looking for a wife, not love, not romance, just marriage. It will be legal. You'll be compensated generously enough to cover your brother's surgery and more." Elena froze. "This isn't a joke?" she whispered. "No, but there are conditions. You'll sign an NDA. You'll live with him for 6 months. You'll never ask about his past, and most importantly, a pause. You must never try to fall in love with him." Her heart thudded. "Who is he?" "That is not for you to know yet." The call ended. She stared at the phone, breathing heavily. Her instincts screamed danger. Her logic screamed insanity, but her heart looked at her little brother and said, "Do it." 3 days later, Elena stood in front of a tall iron gate. A black car had picked her up from the hospital at midnight. She hadn't been allowed to speak to the driver. She wore a simple dress the agency had sent. Her hair, now neatly tied back, did little to hide her exhaustion. The gate opened slowly. Beyond it stood a towering mansion surrounded by silence. No welcoming lights, no staff, no sound of life, only him. A man stepped out of the shadows. Tall, broad shoulders, immaculate black suit. Hands in his pockets. His face was half hidden beneath the brim of a hat, but even from a distance she felt the cold in him. "You're early," he said, voice low and commanding. Elena swallowed. "I didn't want to be late." He walked closer. His eyes, icy gray, met hers. Unblinking, unreadable. "You don't speak unless spoken to," he said quietly. "You don't ask questions, and you don't touch anything unless I say so." "I understand." "Good." He turned. "Follow me." The mansion was darker inside than she expected, not in light but in soul. The walls were covered in expensive art, but none felt alive. There were no family photos, no warmth, only silence and shadows. He led her to a study. A folder lay on the table. "Sign," he said, nodding at the marriage contract. Her hands shook as she picked up the pen. He didn't say his name. He didn't tell her why he needed a wife. But when their fingers brushed as he passed her the pen, she felt it. A flicker of something hauntingly familiar. Her signature trembled onto the page. The man looked at it, then at her. "Welcome to your new life, Mrs. Vale. Vale." It echoed in her ears like a ghost from the past, but she didn't realize it yet, that this wasn't her beginning. It was her return. To a man she once knew, a boy who once saved her life, and who would now destroy it if he had to protect her from the truth. Chapter 2, Elena woke up in a room that didn't feel like hers. It was beautiful, yes, luxurious even. High ceilings, velvet curtains, a massive bed carved in black wood, a walk-in closet filled with clothes her size, still tagged. But it was cold, soulless. Like everything had been chosen by someone who understood aesthetics, not comfort. Like someone had prepared for her arrival, yet didn't care if she stayed. She sat up slowly. Her head still buzzed with everything that had happened. One signature, and suddenly she was someone's wife. His wife. But she didn't even know his first name. The man had disappeared after taking her signature. No welcome dinner, no conversation, no vows, just a legal arrangement and a door that shut behind him. She ran her hand over the sheets, alone, still alone, until a soft knock came at the door. She stood, unsure. A maid entered, eyes downcast. "Mrs. Vale, good morning. Mr. Sapp. Vale requests you join him for breakfast in the East Solarium. Your clothes are in the closet. Shall I prepare a bath?" Elena nodded silently, still stunned by the surreal routine. She wanted to ask questions, but remembered the rules. No questions, no touching, no love. An hour later, she walked into the solarium, an elegant glass-walled room that looked out over manicured gardens and the endless blue of the pool beyond. He was already seated. Mr. Vale, dark suit, no tie, sleeves rolled to the elbows, exposing muscular forearms marked by faint scars, a cup of black coffee in his hand, a newspaper folded neatly beside his plate. He didn't look up when she approached, but he spoke. "You're late." Her voice caught in her throat. I'm sorry, He finally looked up, and those gray eyes pierced right through her. "I don't need apologies, I need obedience. Sit." She obeyed. Silence fell again as a chef placed a delicate meal before her, eggs, fruit, toast, perfectly arranged. "I assume your brother's situation is now handled?" he asked, still not meeting her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "The funds came through. The surgery is scheduled." He nodded once, then took a sip of his coffee. "Good. Then we have no reason to pretend this is something it's not. You'll be seen with me in public when required. Private matters are off limits. We keep to ourselves. No guests, no press, no slipping away in the night." Her eyes flickered toward him. And after 6 months, his jaw tensed. "We dissolve the marriage, quietly. You get the second half of your payment, and we go our separate ways. Cold, precise, like this was a business transaction, which it was. But something about him felt cracked beneath the surface. "Elena," he said, suddenly saying her name for the first time. She looked up. "I don't care about your past. I won't ask. And I expect the same." "Why me?" she asked before she could stop herself. He looked at her now, truly looked. And for a second something flickered in those storm-gray eyes, something hurt. "I told you," he said softly. "No questions." Later that afternoon, Elena wandered the halls of the mansion alone. The place was massive, endless rooms she didn't dare enter, wings she didn't recognize, art pieces that felt centuries old. She paused in front of a door half open at the end of a quiet corridor. It was a study, and on the desk, she saw it. A photo, faded, old, 2 children. A girl with braids, a boy with a scar on his eyebrow, standing near a river. Her heart stopped. She knew that photo. She had it too, tucked away in a broken box in her late mother's things. It was her, at 7, and her best friend, Jaden. The boy who saved her when she nearly drowned, who vanished after the fire that destroyed his home, who whispered, "I'll find you someday," before disappearing from her life. But how did Mr. Vale have the same picture? She picked it up with shaking hands, just as a deep voice cut through the silence. "Who told you could come in here?" She turned, and he was there, his face unreadable, his eyes locked on hers, on the photo in her hand. "Why do you have this?" she breathed. He stepped closer. The air thickened. "Put it down." "Is this you? Are you—" "Put it down, Elena." His voice was no longer cold. It was dangerous. She lowered the photo, heart pounding, hands trembling. He took it from her, slid it into a drawer, and locked it. Then, after a long pause, he said quietly, "Some ghosts are better left buried," and walked away. But Elena couldn't sleep that night, because suddenly her stranger husband didn't feel like a stranger at all. He felt like someone she'd once trusted, someone she'd once loved, and maybe, just maybe, someone who was hiding a truth that could break them both. Chapter 3. Elena sat in the garden that afternoon, trying to steady her thoughts. The photo had changed everything. She couldn't stop thinking about it. The boy in the picture. The way he used to protect her. The way his hand had wrapped around hers after she slipped into the river. That scar on his brow. His crooked little smile. His promise. "I'll find you someday." And now here she was, wearing the name of a man who might just be him. But why wouldn't he say anything? If it was truly Jaden, why hide it? She rubbed her hands together, watching the fountain nearby. Mr. Vale, no, Jaden, hadn't spoken to her since she discovered the photo. He disappeared into his office again, closing himself off from the world like he was made of walls and shadows. It hurt. She didn't even know why it hurt. She wasn't supposed to feel anything. But she did. That night, after dinner was brought to her room in silence, she found herself wandering again. Her steps were hesitant but drawn, and eventually they stopped in front of the same door. The study. It was locked now. Of course it was. But before she could turn away, a voice came from behind her. "You never listened, did you?" She turned sharply. He was standing behind her. No suit this time. Just dark slacks and a fitted black shirt that made him look more like a shadow than a man. His sleeves were rolled up again, the faint scar on his hand visible now. "I wasn't trying to invade your privacy," she said, lifting her chin. You saw something you weren't meant to see, he said, cutting her off. Something I tried to forget. You didn't forget it, she whispered. You kept it. You still carry it. His eyes narrowed. You're Jayden, aren't you? He went still. It was enough. I know it's you, she pressed softly, voice shaking. The scar, the photo, the way you looked at me the night I arrived. His jaw clenched. Elena, you saved me once. Why won't you even admit it now? He stepped toward her, one step, then another, and another, until the air between them crackled. I did save you, he said at last, and I walked through fire to do it. I lost everything that day, my home, my family, my name. Her eyes filled with tears. I thought you were dead. I was, he murmured. At least the part of me that mattered. She reached out instinctively, but before she could touch him, he stepped back. This marriage isn't about the past. It's not about who we used to be. It's about survival. Your brother, my enemies, the mask I wear. She didn't understand. What enemies? He looked away, the kind that don't forgive and never forget. Later that night, Elena stood by her window, watching the moonlight filter through the glass. Jayden was alive, here, right under her nose. But he was also hiding something deep, something dark, something that kept him distant and sharp as glass. And now she had a choice. To pretend she didn't remember, or to slowly, quietly, start breaking through his walls. Because she wasn't just his wife now. She was the only person left who truly knew the boy inside the man. And maybe, just maybe, she could save him the way he once saved her. Chapter 4. The next morning, Jayden was gone. No note, no message. No staff would answer her questions. It was as if the mansion had swallowed him whole and left her behind like a forgotten shadow. Elena sat at the breakfast table staring at her untouched plate, her thoughts tangled between past and present. Jayden, the boy with laughter in his eyes, and Mr. Vale, the man made of stone and silence. She pushed the plate away. She didn't want food. She wanted answers. She wandered the halls again, retracing her steps. Her fingers brushed along the walls, pausing on a family crest carved into the marble Vale. But there was no warmth to the name, no legacy, just power, cold, sterile power. When she passed the east wing, she heard something, a voice, low, angry. Jayden. She froze near the doorway. No, she doesn't know yet. And she can't, he growled into a phone. If she finds out, it's not just her at risk, the boy too. I won't let them use her like they used. Silence. Elena stepped back quietly before he could catch her. The boy? Sam? Her brother was in danger? That evening, Jayden finally returned home. He found her in the music room, a place Shed discovered accidentally, filled with dusty instruments and untouched memories. You used to play, she said, not turning around. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. You remember that too? She touched a key on the grand piano. You taught me my first song. I was a different person then. You were still you, she whispered. The good part of you is still there. Jayden stepped inside, his gaze unreadable. I don't want you looking into my life, he said. There are things about me you're better off not knowing. Like what? She challenged softly. That you changed your name? That you've been watching over me all these years without saying a word? That you married me to protect me without ever admitting it? He flinched. She stood, turning to him. You said this marriage was just an arrangement, that there's no love, but you wouldn't have done all this if you didn't still care. Even a little. He looked away. His voice came low. I married you because I owe you a debt. What debt? He stepped closer. When the fire took everything from me, your family tried to take me in. Your mother gave me shelter, food, clothes until they found us, until they threatened her. Elena's chest tightened. Who? Who found you? Jayden's voice darkened. Men who worked for my father, men who killed to keep secrets buried. I was supposed to die in that fire. They said it. And when they realized I'd survived, they hunted me. Her blood ran cold. Your own father? I was the mistake, Jayden said bitterly. The bastard son of a powerful man with too much to lose. I wasn't supposed to exist. When I lived, I became a liability. And now? She whispered. They're still after you? He nodded once. And they'll come for you too if they find out who you are to me. Then why bring me here? Her voice cracked. Why marry me if I'm in danger just by being near you? His answer was immediate. Because you were already in danger the day your brother got sick. She blinked. What are you talking about? Jayden stepped even closer now, his tone sharper. The hospital that denied you loans? The fake jobs that never called back? It wasn't bad luck, Elena. It was targeted. They were watching you, waiting for a weakness, waiting for you to come crawling so they could use you against me. She shook her head, backing away. No, that can't be true. I intercepted the offer before it reached someone else. I made sure you were brought here instead. I married you because it was the only way to keep them from touching you or Sam. Tears welled in her eyes. So all this time, you were protecting me. Jaden's voice softened. I've been protecting you since the day I disappeared. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. Her heart was too full. The truth weighed heavily. Jaden had saved her life again. But he was drowning in a world of secrets, threats, and silent wounds no one ever saw. She looked at the ring on her finger. A symbol of a marriage that wasn't supposed to mean anything, and yet somehow it meant everything. Chapter 5. The days that followed blurred together. Elena tried to pretend she was still just a girl who had signed a desperate contract to save her brother. But every time she looked at Jaden, truly looked, she saw the boy behind the man, the pain behind the power, and she felt herself unraveling. He was everywhere and nowhere at once. Sometimes warm, sometimes distant, sometimes staring at her like she was the only light left in his world, and other times locking himself away like he was afraid of what she might see. But what broke her most was knowing he wanted to let her in, and wouldn't. One morning, Elena was called into the East Wing. She hadn't been allowed in there since her arrival. When she entered, she found Jaden in a private room that looked more like a war bunker than a home office. Multiple screens, encrypted files, and photos pinned to a black corkboard, including one of her. Her breath caught. I'm sorry, he said without looking up. You weren't supposed to see this. You've been tracking me? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Jaden sighed, then turned to her fully. They've been watching you since last year. I stepped in 6 months ago. That's when I made the decision. To marry you, to move you here. Elena shook her head. But why didn't you just tell me? Why keep me in the dark? Because the less you knew, the safer you were. But now, it's too late. He clicked a screen. A video played. A man in a long coat, standing across from Sam's hospital window. Filmed 2 days ago. Her hand flew to her mouth. That's not just surveillance, Jaden said. That's a threat, a warning. Elena's world tilted. He's just a boy, Jaden. What do they want with a child? Jaden's voice went cold. They want you, and Sam is leverage. That night, Elena couldn't eat, couldn't rest, couldn't think of anything but her brother lying in a hospital bed with a target on his life. She stormed into Jaden's room without knocking. We have to move Sam here, to the estate, somewhere safe. Jaden looked up from his desk. That's not possible. The surgery. Then you go there, you stay with him, post a guard, something. He's all I have, Jaden stood. And you think I don't know that? You think I haven't been protecting him all this time while you slept in silk sheets and mourned in silence? She froze. His voice cracked slightly. I've given up everything to keep both of you breathing, and I'll continue to do it, but don't come in here and act like I'm the enemy. I'm the only reason your world hasn't burned yet. Her heart thundered. Then why are you still pushing me away? She whispered. He looked at her now, really looked. His jaw clenched. His eyes softened. Because if I let you in, Elena, they'll destroy you just to punish me. But that night, something shifted. He didn't lock the door behind her when she left, and when she passed his room later, she saw a light still glowing and heard something else. Piano. A soft, haunting melody. Their song. The next day, Jaden announced she would accompany him to a gala downtown. Public appearances were part of the contract, but this felt different. He handed her a custom dress. Midnight blue, sleek and modest, yet molded for her like a second skin. When she emerged from the dressing room that evening, Jaden stood waiting in a black tuxedo, crisp and precise. But his expression faltered when he saw her. His eyes darkened. Slowly, possessively. You look. He trailed off, then cleared his throat. Let's go. She wanted to ask what he almost said, but she held her tongue. In the car, silence hung between them, until he spoke. There will be photographers. Stay close, don't let go of my hand. Elena glanced at him. Afraid he'll run away? He smirked. Afraid someone will try to take you. The gala was held in a marble hall glittering with crystal chandeliers and silk gowns. Elena had never seen such wealth in one place, but she felt none of it. All she saw was how Jaden owned the room. People parted for him like waves, men nodded, women stared. He was a king in a kingdom of wolves, but he never let go of her hand. not once. He leaned in once during a conversation and whispered, "Smile, you're my wife, not my prisoner." "I'm starting to forget the difference," she whispered back. But when he looked at her then, it wasn't coldness she saw, it was longing and regret, and something deeper. Later, outside, when the cameras were gone and the stars bled across the night sky, he turned to her. "You shouldn't be here." Elena blinked. "Then why bring me?" He stepped closer, voice low. "Because if anything happens to me, I need them to know who you are." She frowned. "What do you mean?" Jaden hesitated, then whispered, "You're not just my wife, Elena. You're my only weakness." And for the first time since she arrived, he kissed her, soft, tormented, like a man who knew he would lose her one day, and wanted this one moment before the world tore them apart. Chapter 6. Elena couldn't sleep that night. Not after the kiss. Not after the way Jaden had whispered, "You're my only weakness," like it was both a confession and a death sentence. She lay in bed, wide awake, fingers brushing her lips, as if trying to hold on to the memory. It hadn't been a soft kiss, not really. It was laced with pain, hunger, restraint, and something like fear. Not for himself, but for her. She didn't know what scared her more, that he kissed her like she meant everything to him, or that he might never do it again. The next morning, Elena woke to an empty house again. Jaden was gone. But a note lay on her breakfast tray this time, written in his neat, clipped handwriting. "Sam is under full guard. Surgery will be moved to a private facility within the estate grounds. I've taken care of it. Don't leave the property. Jay." Her chest tightened. He was still protecting her, still shielding her and Sam from whatever wolves waited at the door. But that kiss had changed everything. She couldn't pretend anymore. Not that she didn't care. Not that she could keep her heart out of this. That afternoon, a woman showed up at the mansion. Tall, blonde, elegant, wearing red lipstick and confidence like a weapon. Elena saw her from the window as she stepped out of the car, and she knew, instantly, that this woman knew Jaden. Knew him in a way she didn't. She was escorted inside, straight to the East Wing, straight to Jaden's war room. Elena's gut twisted. An hour later, the woman walked out, smirking, satisfied, and Elena stood in the hall, waiting. The woman looked her up and down. "You're the new wife," she said smoothly. "Interesting choice. Who are you?" Elena asked. She smiled, slow and cruel. "I'm the woman he almost married before he disappeared. I'm the one who helped bury his past." She leaned in close. "And I'm the reason you'll never really have him." Then she walked away like she owned the air. Elena didn't wait this time. She stormed into Jaden's study when he returned. "Who was she?" He didn't flinch. "Her name is Valerie. She's someone I used to do business with. She said you were going to marry her." He looked at her now, and for once he looked tired. "That was a long time ago. Before I changed my name, before the fire, before I became this." Elena folded her arms. "Why is she here now? Because she's trying to buy my silence, or remind me of my debts. Either way, she's dangerous, and she's been watching you." Elena's breath caught. "What?" Jaden stood slowly, walking around the desk toward her. "I told you the moment you stepped into this life, you'd have eyes on you. Valerie wants control. She thinks you're my weakness, which means now she'll try to break you." Elena stared at him. "Then tell me the truth, Jaden. All of it. Before someone else does." He ran a hand through his hair, something raw in his expression. "My father wasn't just a corrupt billionaire. He ran one of the most powerful underground syndicates in Europe. Blackmail, trafficking, bribery, all of it under the cover of his legitimate empire. I found out when I was 15, he paused. I tried to expose him. He tried to kill me." Elena gasped. "He burned down our home to make sure I'd never speak again, but I survived. Barely, my mother didn't." Tears pricked her eyes. "And Valerie," she whispered, "she was my father's fixer and his mistress." Elena recoiled. She's the one who..." "She helped clean up the mess after the fire, and she helped cover it up. She told the world I died. It made their lives easier." Elena's hands trembled. "Why did you marry me, Jaden? Was it really just protection?" He stepped close, too close. "No," he said softly. "It started that way. But somewhere between the silence and your stubborn fire, I remembered who I used to be when I was with you. And I wanted to keep that person alive. A beat. I wanted to keep you alive." Later that night, Elena sat alone in the library, replaying every word. Jaden wasn't just hiding from danger. He was standing in its mouth every day, daring it to bite. And now she was part of that world, whether she wanted to be or not. She thought about Sam, about the surgery, about the way Jaden had shifted her whole life without asking for anything in return. He thought he was protecting her by keeping her at a distance. But she wasn't that girl anymore. She wasn't going to be protected. She was going to stand beside him. And if someone wanted to break her, they were going to have to fight for it. Chapter 7. The estate wasn't safe anymore. Not truly. Not after Valerie. Not after the late-night messages Jaden started receiving and deleting without a word. Not after Elena woke one night to find him standing at the window, eyes locked on the woods, body tense like a soldier waiting for war. She knew something was coming, and Jaden knew it too. Elena found him in the underground training room the next day, drenched in sweat, slamming his fists into a punching bag with silent rage. He didn't stop when she walked in, didn't even glance at her. "I want to know what you're planning," she said softly. He kept hitting. "I know something's wrong. Don't shut me out. One final punch." He stepped back, breathing hard. Then he turned to face her. "They're moving faster than I thought. Valerie's just the start. There's another name." He stopped himself. "Who?" she pressed. "Someone worse," he said quietly. "Someone who wants more than money or silence." He walked to a table and slid over a photo. It was blurry. A man, mid-40s, pale eyes, cruel mouth. "This is Damien Cole," Jaden said. "He used to work for my father. Now he runs his own empire. Ruthless, brilliant, and obsessed with finishing what my father started." Elena stared at the photo. "Why now?" "Because he thinks I've gone soft," Jaden muttered. "Because I married you. Because I have something to lose again." She took a breath. "Then teach me to fight." His eyes snapped to hers. "What?" "Teach me to defend myself. I'm tired of being the one who needs saving." Jaden's jaw clenched. "No." "Why not?" "Because if you start down this path, there's no going back. I wasn't given a choice when I stepped into your world, but I'm here now. I'm not running, so teach me." He stared at her. Then, finally, nodded once. "Tomorrow, 6 a.m. Be ready." Training wasn't gentle. Jaden didn't treat her like a delicate wife. He treated her like someone whose life depended on it, and maybe it did. She trained until her body ached, until her lungs burned, until her muscles screamed, but she didn't stop. Not even when he told her to. By the end of the third day, she had bruises on her ribs and calluses on her palms, but she also had fire in her eyes. "You're reckless," he muttered, handing her a cold compress. "You're the one who trained me. I meant controlled recklessness, not trying to knock out your instructor." She smirked. "You said don't hold back." His mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Almost. That night, she entered the study and found him asleep on the couch. It was the first time she'd seen him look vulnerable. His brows were furrowed even in sleep, his hand clenched over a pistol resting on the table beside him. She knelt beside him. Carefully, she reached out and touched his face. "Jaden," she whispered. He stirred, eyes opened, instantly alert. But he didn't move. He just stared at her. "You haven't slept properly in days," she said. "I can't afford to. You can't carry all this alone." He sat up slowly, then he whispered, "I don't know how to stop." Elena took his hand. "You don't have to. Not completely. Just let me carry some of it too." And this time, he didn't pull away. The next morning, the alarm went off in the estate. Guards moved fast. Sirens flared across the private perimeter. Jaden stormed into the control room, Elena close behind him. "West fence breach," one of the guards said. "Motion sensors triggered. Whoever it was, they knew exactly where to cut through." Jaden's face darkened. "Where's Elena's brother?" "Still secure in the South Wing medical facility. Guarded. But Elena was already running." Jaden caught up with her just outside Sam's room. She burst in and found Sam unharmed, reading a comic book. "Elena?" He blinked, confused. "What's wrong?" She let out a breath and hugged him tightly. Jaden stood behind her, silent, but his eyes burned. Later that evening, Jaden called an emergency meeting with his top security. "They're getting closer," he said. "They're testing the edges. Next time they won't stop at the fence." "What do we do?" Elena asked. He turned to her, jaw set. "We take the fight to them." That night, as the house went quiet, Elena stood on the balcony outside their bedroom. Jaden joined her, his presence heavy with tension. "I should have never brought you here," he said. "You did what you had to do." He looked at her, shadows dancing in his eyes. "You're not safe with me, Elena." She stepped closer, voice steady. "I've never felt safer in my life." His fingers brushed hers. Then his hand curled around her waist, pulling her close. I don't know how this ends, he said softly, but I know I'd burn the world before I let them touch you again. She didn't speak. She just leaned into him. And for that moment, they weren't two strangers bound by a contract. They were two souls fighting for each other in a war neither of them had started, but both of them would finish. Chapter 8. Elena had never seen Jayden like this. Ruthless. Cold. Focused like a loaded gun. The break-in at the estate had shaken something loose inside him, a rage that simmered beneath the surface, barely held together by control. He doubled security, restricted movement within the mansion, and ordered guards to shadow Elena at all times, even in the garden. "You're a target now," he said quietly. "I can't take any chances." But it wasn't just the world that was changing. They were changing. The nights grew quieter, heavier. Jayden would sit with her in the lounge, drink in hand, saying nothing for hours. But when she stood to leave, he would always whisper, "Stay." And she did, because somewhere in the silence, love was growing. Not loudly, not easily, but dangerously. One afternoon, Elena received a call from the hospital she'd visited before the marriage. It was the nurse who used to oversee Sam's case. "Elena, are you all right?" "I've been trying to reach you for days," she said. "I'm fine," Elena replied. "Why?" "Your brother's records were flagged. Someone requested access to his file yesterday, someone outside the country. It triggered our alert system." Elena's blood ran cold. "Did they get the files?" "No, we blocked it. But whoever it was had your full name, ID, and Sam's medical history. Elena, be careful." She hung up, heart racing. They weren't just coming, they were already inside. That night, Jayden left for a meeting with one of his old contacts, a trusted ally who claimed to have information on Damien Cole's next move. "I'll be gone 3 hours. No more," he said as he cupped her face gently. "Stay inside. Don't answer the door. Don't trust anyone but Dax. Dax, his most loyal guard. Gruff, always near." Elena nodded. But 2 hours later, the power in the estate went out. Pitch black silence. The backup generators kicked in a minute later, but it was enough. Dax burst into the room, blood on his sleeve. "They're here," he growled. "Move." Elena didn't hesitate. She grabbed the emergency pack Jayden had taught her to keep under the bed and followed Dax down the hall. But just before they reached the reinforced panic room, a figure stepped out of the shadows. It was one of Jayden's guards, someone she recognized. "Dax," Elena whispered. "Isn't that the guy who trained in the East Wing last week?" But Dax had already drawn his gun. The man smiled. "Smart girl." He dropped his disguise, lifted his weapon, and fired. Dax took the hit. "Elena, run!" She bolted, heart pounding, vision blurred with panic and adrenaline. Every hallway stretched like a nightmare. Every door became a question mark. She found herself back in the East Wing, Jayden's war room. She slammed the door shut and locked it behind her. Then she grabbed a knife from the emergency panel and stood, shaking but ready. Footsteps echoed outside. Slow, deliberate, someone knocked. "Elena," a voice called. Smooth, familiar. "Valerie." "I told you I'd get you killed," she said softly. "Come with me. You don't belong in his world." Elena tightened her grip on the knife. "Funny, I don't see you bleeding for him." A pause, then a cold chuckle. "Very well, let's do it the hard way." The door creaked. Someone was working the lock from the outside. Seconds felt like hours, then a shot, a crash, a scream, and silence. When Elena opened the door, Jayden stood there, gun in hand, blood on his sleeve, and a body at his feet. Valerie, dead. He looked at Elena. No words, just relief and terror and anger all mixed in one haunted expression. He dropped the gun. Then he pulled her into his arms and held her like she was his last breath. "I thought I lost you," he whispered. She clung to him, shaking. "I was afraid I wouldn't see you again." "I won't let that happen," he breathed into her hair. "Never again." Later that night, Elena sat by the fireplace, wrapped in a blanket. Jayden sat beside her, silent, until he finally spoke. "She wasn't supposed to come after you. I warned her." "She didn't care," Elena whispered. "They never do." Jayden looked at her then and said, "I'm done hiding." She blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means the war starts now." And in the shadows of the estate, as guards dragged Valerie's body away, someone else watched, Damien Cole, hidden, smiling, and planning the final move. Chapter 9. Jayden buried Valerie himself. No cameras, no witnesses, no questions. He didn't do it because he loved her. He did it because once upon a time she saved his life. Before she chose power, before she became poison, but something in him died with her. The last tie to his former life was gone now, and Damien Cole knew it. The days that followed were grim. Elena could feel it in the walls, in the way Jaden spoke in clipped sentences, the way his guards moved tighter around the estate, the way his security team tripled overnight. And yet, none of it made her feel safe, because Jaden's silence wasn't cold anymore. It was final, like he was already planning for goodbye. One night, she found him on the rooftop, staring out into the dark woods beyond the walls. She stepped beside him. "You're planning something." He didn't deny it. "I need to finish this." "By going after Damien yourself?" Jaden turned to her, jaw clenched. "He's not going to stop, Elena. Not until I'm dead. Not until you're dead. I have to end this." She stepped closer. "Not alone." "Elena, no," her voice shook. "Don't you dare shut me out now. Don't you dare make this choice without me." He looked at her, eyes burning. "This isn't your fight. I married you," she whispered. "I chose this fight. I chose you." He exhaled, shoulders dropping as if the weight was finally too much. "I've killed before," he said, "and I'll kill again. But I don't want your hands bloodied for me." She stepped into his arms and whispered, "Then teach me how to survive it." And that night, he did. Not just how to shoot or escape or fight, but how to survive, how to read a room like a weapon, how to sense danger before it breathes, how to stay standing when your soul wants to break. And by morning, she was ready. 3 days later, they received a message. No voice, no signature, just a photo. Sam, bound to a chair, tears in his eyes. A blade pressed to his neck, and a location. "Come alone, or the boy dies." Elena dropped the phone, screaming. Jaden caught her, held her, and then he broke, not with tears, with fury. He slammed his fist into the wall, blood splattering as his knuckles cracked. "He crossed the line," Jaden whispered. "He took the one thing I swore to protect." Elena stood, eyes wet, voice steel. "Then let's finish this." They didn't go alone. Jaden called in the last of his allies. People who owed him blood debts, men who didn't blink at death. Dax returned, patched up and burning for revenge. The rendezvous point was an abandoned shipping yard outside the city. Cameras blind, radio silence enforced. Jaden's team moved in like shadows, and Elena followed, not behind him, beside him. The first shot came before they reached the main warehouse. Gunfire lit the air. Smoke, screams, chaos. Elena stayed behind cover like he taught her, heart pounding as bullets cut through the night. Jaden moved like a ghost, silent, brutal, unstoppable. But when they entered the warehouse, it was empty. No Sam, no Damien, only a screen, a live video feed. Damien, sitting in a dark room, smiling. Jaden stepped forward, gun raised. "Where is he?" Damien leaned in toward the camera. "Still pretending to be a hero, Jaden? I warned you." "You chose her. Now you lose everything." The screen went black, and the warehouse exploded. Elena woke up beneath rubble, her ears ringing, blood on her hands. She looked up, disoriented, and saw Jaden crawling toward her, face covered in ash. "Elena?" He choked. "Stay with me, stay," but her eyes rolled back. Everything went dark. She woke in a panic, strapped to a hospital bed in a dim room. Not the estate, not the safe house. Her arms ached, her head spun. A shadow moved across the room, and Damien stepped into the light. "Finally awake," he said smoothly. "You're stronger than you look." Elena fought the restraints, fury rising. "Where's my brother?" "Safe," Damien said with a grin. "For now." "What do you want?" He knelt beside her. "I want to see how far Jaden will fall to get you back." Her blood ran cold. "Hell come," she said. Damien smiled wider. "I'm counting on it." Back at the estate, Jaden stood in the ruins of the war room, bloodied but breathing. He held a new message in his hand. A photo, Elena, unconscious, bound, and the words scribbled across the bottom. "Come alone, or they both die." Jaden looked up, his face calm, but his eyes promised war. Chapter 10. Jaden didn't sleep. He didn't eat. He didn't speak for hours after the message arrived. He just stared at Elena's photo. Her bruised face, her limp arms, the faint cut above her lip, and something inside him snapped. He had always been calculated, strategic, always 10 steps ahead, but not this time. Damien had beaten him at his own game, and now the only woman who ever made him feel human was in the hands of a man who never forgot how to destroy. Jaden stood in the center of the estate's command room, surrounded by what was left of his team. "This is no longer a rescue mission," he said, voice low, dangerous. "This is an execution." Dax stepped forward. "Then let us go with you." Jaden shook his head. "If he sees more than one of us, he'll kill her and Sam on the spot. I go in alone. You surround the perimeter and wait for my signal." Dax hesitated. "He'll kill you. Jaden's eyes never wavered. Then I'll take him with me. The meeting point was a decaying theater on the edge of the city, burned out, abandoned, hollow. The perfect place for a final act. Jaden walked in alone, dressed in black, weapon concealed. His heart pounded, but not with fear, with purpose. He would save Elena, or die trying. Inside the shattered theater, lights flickered. Jaden stepped down the center aisle, past broken chairs and ash-stained curtains. A spotlight clicked on, and there they were, Elena, bound to a chair, blood on her temple, eyes swollen but awake. Sam, cuffed beside her, trembling, trying not to cry, and Damien Cole, standing in front of them like a puppeteer watching his final show. Well, Damien smiled. The prodigal son returns. Jaden didn't blink. Let them go, Damien laughed. Still so noble, so predictable. He circled Elena slowly, trailing a finger along her bruised jaw. Jaden's hand twitched. You know, she reminds me of your mother, Damien whispered. Beautiful, fierce, fragile. You couldn't save her either. Jaden stepped forward. Touch her again and he'll put a bullet between your eyes. Damien turned, smirking. You came unarmed. Jaden pulled a blade from beneath his coat. Wrong. It all happened in seconds. Jaden lunged. Damien fired. The bullet grazed his side, but he kept moving. They collided, steel against rage, fists, blades, blood. Jaden fought like a man with nothing left to lose. But Damien was older, crueler, and driven by years of vengeance. They crashed through the stage, into the orchestra pit, trading blows. Elena screamed behind her gag. Sam cried her name. And then, Jaden pinned Damien, blade at his throat. It ends now, Jaden hissed, but Damien smiled. Go ahead, kill me, but your wife bleeds out either way. Jaden's eyes flicked up and saw the wire, the trigger, the bomb strapped beneath Elena's chair. Jaden's blood ran cold. Let her go, he whispered, and I'll walk away. You win. You can have everything. Just let her go. But Damien only laughed. You still don't get it. This was never about winning. This was about making you suffer. Jaden didn't think. He moved, sliced Damien's throat clean, then ran. Elena struggled against the ropes, heart racing. Jaden reached her seconds later, eyes wild. There's a bomb, she gasped. I know. He dropped to his knees, pulling the wires apart with shaking hands. I'm sorry, he whispered. I should have told you everything sooner. I should have never let you get hurt. Her hand gripped his face. Shut up and save us. He smiled, broken, bloody, then clipped the final wire. Silence. No boom. Just breath. Just life. He cut her free, then moved to Sam, uncuffing him and pulling the boy into his arms. You okay, champ? He murmured. Sam nodded into his chest. Then Elena was there too, wrapping her arms around both of them, and for one breathless moment, they were just a family. Broken, shaking, but alive. Later that night, they returned to the estate. Jaden's wounds were stitched. Elena's head was bandaged. Sam was asleep in a guarded medical suite. But Jaden didn't rest. He sat in the hallway, staring at the blood on his hands. When Elena walked up, he didn't move. You saved us, she whispered. He looked at her. But I couldn't save myself. She knelt beside him. You're still trying to protect me, even now. He nodded, and she said the one thing that shattered his armor. I don't want your protection anymore. I want you, the broken parts, the scarred pieces, the man behind the mask. His hands trembled as he touched her cheek. You could have died, but I didn't, and I could have lost you, but you didn't. He pulled her into his arms, burying his face in her neck. I love you, he whispered, voice cracking. I didn't know how to say it, but I do. Elena smiled through her tears. I love you too. And that night, for the first time, they didn't fall asleep as strangers, but as husband and wife, real, raw, and completely theirs. Chapter 11. The world didn't go quiet after Damien died. In fact, it only got louder. Calls, questions, loose ends, bodies to bury, alliances to sever, and men who no longer had a leader. Jaden handled it all from behind locked doors. Elena watched him retreat into himself, piece by piece. As if now that the danger was over, he didn't know how to exist in the light. He hadn't just killed Damien, had killed the last thread tying him to his father's legacy. And now he stood, untethered, but not free. 1 week later, Elena stood outside Jaden's office with a tray of untouched food. He hadn't been sleeping. He barely looked at her. She knocked, then opened the door slowly. Jaden? He didn't look up from the files on his desk. Come in. She set the tray down. You need to eat. I'm fine. No, you're not, she said gently. You haven't spoken to me properly since we got home. You haven't held me, or even looked at Sam. He rubbed his temples. I'm trying to keep everything from falling apart. And I'm trying to keep you from falling apart, she whispered. That made him pause. She walked around the desk, knelt beside him, and placed a hand on his chest. Your heart is still beating. That means you're still here. And if you're still here, then so am I. Jaden looked at her, really looked. And in his eyes, she saw a man afraid not of enemies, but of hope. I don't know how to live after this, he admitted. I've spent so long surviving, fighting, hiding, I don't know what peace looks like. Then let's learn together. That night, Jaden stepped into Sam's room while he was sleeping. He sat beside the boy's bed, staring at the soft rise and fall of his chest. Then he whispered, I'm sorry I couldn't protect you sooner. Sam stirred, half awake. You saved me. Jaden blinked. You remember? Sam nodded groggily. I saw you. You weren't scared? Jaden swallowed hard. I was terrified. But you came anyway. He touched Sam's hair gently. I promise you this, he said. No one will ever touch you again. From the doorway, Elena watched them, and her heart cracked open. The next morning, Jaden surprised her. He asked her to sit with him on the garden terrace. He poured the tea himself. He didn't wear his armor. No suit, no earpiece, just a man with tired eyes and a hand that trembled when it reached for hers. I want to take you somewhere, he said. Where? To the place where I became Vale. He drove them to a forest clearing outside the city, quiet and green. In the center stood the remains of an old cabin, burned, weather-worn, collapsed. This was my mother's house, he said. Elena stared at the broken wood, the blackened stone. She was the only one who ever believed I could be more than my father's mistake. He walked to the edge of the ruin and dropped to his knees. I buried her here. Elena's breath caught. I was 15. I dug the hole myself. I marked it with a rock. I never came back until now. She walked to him slowly, knelt beside him, and rested her hand on his back. She'd be proud of you. He looked at her, eyes glossy. I killed a man, Elena. You saved a boy. I burned a world down, so you could build a new one. She reached into her bag and pulled out a single white lily, and together they planted it, a symbol, not of death, but of rebirth. That night, Jaden pulled her into bed and didn't let go. He didn't try to be strong. He didn't try to be cold. He just held her and whispered over and over, thank you for not giving up on me. But peace, it seemed, was a fragile thing. The next morning, Dax rushed into the study, panic on his face. We have a problem. Jaden stood immediately. What is it? There's movement from the East Syndicate. Damien had a partner. Silent. Hidden. And they've taken over everything he left behind. Jaden's eyes darkened. Elena stood slowly. Are they coming for us? Dax hesitated. No, not yet. Then who? He looked at Jaden. They're coming for you, and they know about the boy. Elena's stomach dropped. Sam? Jaden turned to her, jaw tight. We need to disappear, all of us, now. Elena grabbed his hand. No more running. Jaden's voice dropped. If I stay, you'll lose everything. No, she said. If you run, we all lose you. And for the first time in his life, Jaden didn't choose war. He chose home. He chose her. Chapter 12. The morning was too quiet, too still. Jaden knew what that meant. They were coming. Not in waves, not in noise, but like a blade in the dark. Calculated, silent, final. The East Syndicate, Damien's silent partner. The real monster behind the curtain. A man known only as the Vulture, because he never attacked first. He waited for everything to die, then picked apart the bones. And now he wanted Jaden's empire. But more than that, he wanted Sam. Jaden stood at the estate gate, dressed in black, hands steady. Elena came to him, clutching Sam's bag in one hand, her other laced with her brother's. We're ready. Jaden turned to her. No, you and Sam are leaving. Elena's eyes narrowed. We've talked about this. This isn't like before, he said. These men don't play with their food. They strike once and they don't miss. Then let me be your shield, she said, stepping closer. Like you've been mine. Jaden cupped her face gently. If anything happens to you, nothing will, she whispered. Because we're walking out of this together. He looked down at Sam. Stay with Dax. No matter what happens, don't look back. Sam nodded, eyes wide but brave. Then Jaden handed Elena a small black key. What's this? In case I don't make it, he said. There's a cabin in Tuscany. It's yours. Everything I've built is hidden there. Bank accounts, documents, your new names. Elena shook her head fiercely. We're not running. We're fighting. Jaden kissed her then. Quick, desperate, real. I love you, he whispered. So much it hurts. Then fight like it. By nightfall, the estate was surrounded. The attack wasn't loud, it was surgical. Jaden's men held the outer walls. Dax moved Sam to the underground vault beneath the estate, and Elena stayed with Jaden. She refused to be anywhere else. The Vulture entered through the east courtyard, just like Jaden predicted. He was older than Damien, leaner, with eyes like dead glass. "You took my partner," he said. "He took my life," Jaden replied. The Vulture smiled. "Then let's even the score." Gunfire broke out. Explosions rocked the estate. Jaden shoved Elena behind a pillar, handed her a weapon. "If they touch you, don't hesitate." "I won't," she said. He turned to her. "I'm sorry it ended like this," but Elena just said, "It hasn't ended yet." Jaden fought like a man who had nothing left to lose and everything to protect. Elena fought beside him, not as a shield, not as a burden, as his equal. Every corner of the mansion became a battleground, until one final shot. Silence. The Vulture dropped to his knees, blood at his mouth, and Jaden, bruised, bleeding, but still standing, watched him fall. It was over, really over. Dawn broke across the horizon, golden and soft. Jaden sat on the steps outside the estate, bloodied, exhausted, and broken open. Elena walked to him slowly. "You're hurt," she whispered. "I'm alive. And Sam? Safe?" She knelt and kissed his forehead. "You kept your promise." He looked at her then, tears in his eyes for the first time. "Elena, I don't know what I am anymore." She smiled, brushing hair from his face. "You're mine." Weeks passed, the estate was rebuilt. Jaden stepped down from the shadows. No more syndicates, no more secrets. He opened an organization for children like he once was, orphans, survivors, broken pieces. And Sam, he got better. He started school again, laughed again, lived again. And Elena, she stayed, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Because this wasn't a marriage built on desperation anymore. It was built on survival, sacrifice, and love. Epilogue. 6 months later, a small cottage in Tuscany. Jaden poured tea on the balcony as Elena joined him, wrapped in a soft white robe. "You're still awake?" she asked, smiling. "I had a dream." She sat beside him. "A good one?" He turned, kissed her hand. "You were in it. And Sam?" He pointed to the yard. Their little boy was playing in the garden, safe, free, whole. Elena rested her head on Jaden's shoulder. "You found peace," she whispered. He wrapped an arm around her. "No," he said softly. "You found me." Thank you so much for listening to this story. I truly hope it touched your heart the way it touched mine while writing it. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Mariah Stories for more emotional, romantic journeys just like this one. Your support means the world to me, and every comment, like, or share helps this small channel grow into something truly beautiful. Until next time, stay safe, stay kind, and keep believing in love, even the kind that comes when you least expect it. Love always, Mariah.